I'm flying out to D.C. for meetings this week, but before I left, I wanted to address more of the nonsense that is going on with the talk show hosts in this city. Specifically, let's talk about the Ryan Schuiling interview with Corby Hall. Because after all the dramatic music, loaded language, and emotional outrage, one thing has become crystal clear. There's a whole lot of accusation and very little evidence. For what seems like hours, listeners were told Victor Marx is a grifter, a manipulator, and somehow running some massive deception operation. Okay, so where's the proof? Not suspicion, not feelings, not emotional storytelling. Actual proof. Because if you strip away the theatrics, what the interview really described was a business relationship that fell apart, not a criminal conspiracy. And here's the first major contradiction nobody seems willing to acknowledge. Corby Hall himself admitted that Victor Marx publicly promoted the Fold AR platform. Victor appeared in videos. He endorsed the product. He demonstrated the rifle. He talked about getting it into schools. He helped facilitate purchases for school resource officers. That's all on the record. Now ask yourself a simple question. Does that sound like someone secretly sabotaging a company? Or does it sound more like someone who genuinely believed in the mission at the time? You can't have it both ways. The interview tries to paint Victor as this calculated mastermind, running a long con from day one. But according to Corby's own timeline, Victor was supportive, engaged, helpful, and publicly attached to the product for months. That completely undercuts the central narrative. And then there's the issue of expectations versus agreements. Corby repeatedly admitted there was no written contract, no signed partnership agreement, no formal obligations, no guaranteed funding arrangement, no legally binding commitment. That matters because the entire emotional core of this interview boils down to this. One side believed more support was coming, and it didn't happen. Now, that may be disappointing. It may be frustrating, but disappointment is not fraud. A failed business expectation is not criminal behavior. And notice what happened throughout the interview whenever the facts got thin. The conversation immediately shifted into emotional attacks. Mastermind manipulator, grifter, bottom-feeding scumbag. That's not evidence. That's performance. Real investigative journalism presents documentation, timelines, contracts, financial records, and verifiable misconduct. This interview relied almost entirely on emotional framing and character destruction. And then there's the Candace Owens angle. This alone should shoot down any credibility that Ryan or his guests have. Apparently, we're now supposed to believe that declining a jointly staged confrontation interview is proof of guilt. That's absurd. No, it's actually laughable. Public figures decline hostile interview formats all the time, especially when the structure is one accuser, one moderator, already openly hostile, and a setup designed for spectacle instead of the facts. Choosing not to walk into an ambush is an admission of guilt. And honestly, one of the strangest parts of the entire interview was this attempt to weaponize Corby Hall's juvenile history. Think about the contradiction here. The same interview argues Victor Marx is terrible because he later referenced Corby's past, while also arguing Victor should have trusted Corby unquestionably in business dealings despite knowing the same history. Which is it? Because according to Corby himself, Victor promoted him, supported him, worked with him, appeared publicly with him. So if Corby was supposedly this unstable, dangerous, unreliable all along, why did the interview also spend hours emphasizing how closely they worked together? Again, the narrative collapses on its own. And here's the biggest takeaway of all. After hours of accusations, what was actually proven? No financial fraud, no donor theft, no criminal scheme, no illegal conduct, no evidence of corruption, nothing concrete. Just more insinuation. And that's important because political campaigns are increasingly becoming fought this way now. And that's what Victor Marx is trying to get away from. It's not through policy, not through evidence, but through endless suspicion. Campaigns designed to make voters feel like something must be wrong, even when nothing provable exists. Just take a look at social media. If voters are going to make serious decisions, they should demand the facts. Not dramatic music, not loaded language, no coordinated pile-ons, and not emotional manipulation disguised as journalism. Because in the end, this interview said far more about the motivations and tactics of Victor Marx's critics than it did about Victor Marx himself. So for all the never Marxers out there, like Ryan and Mandy and Peter Boyle, to name a few, it's obvious that Victor Marx is doing something right, as the other side has no platform and can only try and find something to criticize Victor and his campaign about. Sound familiar? 10 years ago with Trump and the Republicans that didn't like him? How about Russia, Russia, Russia? So I'll try and send a video when I'm in D.C. Depends on how time is allowing me. But as always, stay sharp, question everything, and don't confuse volume with credibility.